I'm Mrs. Pilecki,
And I'm Mrs. Hostler.
and we're working on the locker problem, 5.1 in our books. So to talk about the locker problem, I started solving part A by listing, well, first I did all these right here, and it didn't really make a lot of sense, so I went over here and I wrote the numbers 1 through 10 and the numbers 1 through 30. And then I opened all the lockers, and then I started closing some lockers, and then they asked us to change the state of the lockers, so I closed some and opened the others. Well, in the end, you can see my red and my blue, and we found out that there were all square numbers. Do you remember that part?
Yeah.
We found out, so like 1 was square and 9, 25, were there others?
I think 4.
I thought I said 4.
1, 4, 9, and 25.
Okay. I said 16 though.
Okay.
Okay. So we got the square numbers. That's what was left open. And so when you try part A, I want you to try to come up with a way to do part A. Maybe the way we did it you like, maybe you didn't like it, but you can try however you want. And if you didn't like the way, you could stop it and start again or whatever.
And when I solved the problem, I did the same thing.
Do we want to ask them a question?
Yeah. So our question that we have for you is, our big question at the end that you have to solve is, I have 6 lockers and I close 4. How many are left open?
Good luck with that.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Pilecki,
And I'm Mrs. Hostler.
and we're going to talk about problem 5.1 in your book, section A. This is the locker problem, if you remember.
And it says, model the problem for the first 30 students and for the first 30 lockers. What patterns do you see as the students put their plan into action? Mrs. Pilecki and I both solved the problem differently, so I'm going to explain how I did mine first, and then she'll explain how she did hers. When I approached the problem, I wrote 1 through 30 at the top, so that way I could see the number of the lockers. Then I knew that student 1 would come through and open all the lockers. So I did an O for open. Then I knew that the second person would come in and change the state of the locker. So if it was open, now they close it. And that student 2 is going to do all the multiples of 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on. And I did those in blue. Then student 3 is going to come along and change the state of the third locker and all of the multiples of 3 after that. So then I did that for every single number, every single student who came up. When I was done, I saw that the lockers that were open were 4, 16, 9, 1, thank you, and 25. And I knew that those were square numbers because I looked on my multiplication chart and I saw them. So I knew that for the first 30 lockers, the square numbers would be open.
And I didn't solve mine like that. I tried it one way that maybe was going to be similar to the way Miss Hostler did. I listed the numbers 1 through 10 here. And at first with the multiples of 1, I was just going to keep those open. And then for the multiples of 2, I started to close lockers and open them. And for me, this wasn't going to work. So I decided to kind of switch it up. For this one here, Miss Hostler was watching me solve it, and she kind of thought, oh my gosh, I can't wait to hear how you explain because this is so different than how I did mine. And so as I looked at the problem, I listed the numbers 1 through 30 for my lockers. 1 through 30 I knew were going to remain opened for my multiples of 1. Once that student 1 went through, they opened all the lockers. Then on student 2, that child came through and shut the lockers 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, all the multiples of 2. So the only ones that are remaining open are my odds right here. Then on the third student, the multiples of 3, the locker state was changed. So my 3 got closed. There's nothing here. My 5 remained open, so I have that number here. My 6 was closed, and so I opened it back up. My 7 remained. My 9 was open, and then it was closed. So you can see that right here, all of these lockers that are listed remained open. When I went to my multiples of 4, I had to change the state of the locker 4, change the state of my 8, change the state of my 12, change the state of my 16. All the others stayed open. So you can see as I continue on, my locker 1s always remained open. My locker 4s eventually remained open. My 9s came open at the end, my 16s, and then if I were to have continued to replicate my work, the 25 would have been left open as well. So I could see after doing all of my multiples of those consecutive students that the only ones that remained open were my square numbers. 1, 4, what were we at? 9, 16. So it was kind of fascinating, but it took a lot of work, and we both, it seemed like, had to do a lot of thinking. And
out of the box.
yeah. Our job then was to figure out a question to ask that was related to our problem. So what did we come up with, Miss Osler?
We came up with, would locker number 996 be open? And that's our big question for you to try and answer.
So good luck solving.